So in this video today, we're going to be doing this custom end table that I did for a retired Navy pilot. The top's going to be made out of cherry with a inlay of yellow heart and walnut. I hope you enjoy the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. So here I'm just trying to make these boards a little bit more square, so when I take them to the table saw, it's less likely to get any kind of kickback, and then they're already set up for when I want to glue them up. I'm using my Woodmaster 725. I did a review on this piece of equipment. I'll put a link on it in the upper right hand of the screen, but this thing is probably the best piece of equipment that I've ever bought. I mean, there's definitely pieces of equipment that are better, but you also pay an arm and a leg to get them. This is by far the best value for your dollar you can get out of any woodworking piece of equipment. So if you want, go ahead and check out the review, or I'll leave a link to Woodmaster's website down in the bottom. Here I'm just cutting up a bunch of strips of cherry. I don't remember the exact number. I kind of just did them and stacked them on top of each other until I got the desired width that I needed for this project. So here I'm going to be using my pipe clamps with some parallel clamps to glue up this tabletop. I would prefer to use my panel clamp station, but I made that specifically for like large cutting board orders, so I won't accept anything under 24 inches, which this top is not long enough. It sucks, but oh well. I'll have to make the clamp station adjustable at some point, but that'll have to take a back seat. So then after that, I threw the piece on my CNC machine and started to do the inlay. Here I'm just doing a pocket that the yellow heart will eventually sit in, and then after that I can move on to inlaying for the walnut. And here is the yellow heart being cut out. You can see I had to come up with a little weird shape because yellow heart's pretty freaking expensive, and I didn't have enough of it to fully do this project the way you would normally want to. So I just glued up some offcuts on the pieces, that parts that are going to be wider than I needed, and it ended up working out good, so I was alright with it. After it was cut out, I had to go ahead and do the first glue up, and as you can see, it ended up breaking, and it didn't break on the glue joint. It just kind of broke where it was the thinnest on the inlay. I think it might have ended up dropping it or something. It ended up not mattering. I just glued it back together and put it in. Then after this was all glued up and dried, I could then move to inlaying the walnut. So here I'm just planing down the cherry till it's flush with the yellow heart, and this is just to prevent any issues with gluing up when I get the pocket inlaid. I could just go ahead straight to the CNC machine and start inlaying the pocket in there, but I think this would cause problems afterwards when I'm trying to glue everything up because it wouldn't be completely flush. So then after that was flush, we just put it on the CNC machine and started to inlay the pocket for the walnut. Then after that pocket was inlaid, we can go ahead and start machining the walnut. This walnut is what's going to be put into the pocket we just cut into the yellow heart, and I think it's going to provide a really nice contrast once it's all said and done. So once the CNC machine was done, we took it out and we started to get ready for the glue up. The way I like to do it is I kind of just douse the whole thing with glue and spread it with a silicone brush, and that way if there is any little gaps, it's kind of filled up by the glue, or the glue makes the wood expand enough that it fills that gap. And then after all the glue is spread, you kind of gotta give it a good whack with the mallet just to make sure that it is properly seated in there, because sometimes there's a little nub of wood that the CNC machine missed, and that's preventing it from properly seating in that pocket. So I just like to give it a little whack with the mallet. Then after it's dry, we take it to the planer and we bring down the excess to, I would say, about 0.2 inches above. If you go anything closer than that, it'll start chipping out and takes the walnut out of the pocket itself. So once it hits 0.2 inches, then I move just to hand sanding. I could also move to drum sanding, but I find that kind of heat it up a little too much, and if you haven't given your glue enough time to set, it can cause some issues. So I just go to a hand sander with like 80 grit, and it tends to go pretty fast. And then after that 80 grit is all done, then it's time to start with the final sanding. So I think I'm doing like 120 or 220 here, but I think we'll end up going to 420 before it's all said and done. Once we're done with sanding, I decided to chamfer the edges. I normally like to do a round over bit, but with this one being kind of an aviation theme, you could say, I thought the 45-degree chamfer bit would give it more of that airplane-like look. You're gonna have to tell me if it ended up achieving that or not. Then once I was done with that, I could put on some polyurethane. I did this right before I went to work that day, hoping to get it done and out the door as soon as possible because I had a pretty long customer list at that point. Then after that, we just moved to the legs. The legs are pretty simple. It's just 2x3 steel with a cap welded on the bottom for a foot, and then I just drilled a hole in there and tapped it and put some adjustable feet on there. And here I'm just welding some tabs on, and these tabs are what I'm going to use to actually hold the legs to the tabletop securely. After that, we drilled some holes in and we elongated them to try and make sure there's some room to move if this wood expanded a little bit. Then after that, it's time for some paint. I just went with a kind of a black matte finish for this. Kind of wanted to make sure all the attention was on the tabletop, not so much the legs. I think it ended up turning out pretty well. You have to let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Now we're just gonna go ahead and lay out these legs. We're gonna use our center punch just to lay out where we want the holes to be, and then we're gonna pre-drill and attach all the legs. And then we are done. So that'll do it for this build. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a like or a thumbs up. It helps out a lot, and maybe even subscribe, because there's going to be more content like this. I have quite a few orders from friends of mine that want tables like this. One of my buddies, he's kind of a gun nut. He wants one like this with some hidden spot for his pistol, so we're probably going to end up doing something like that here shortly. If you would like this enough, I will leave a link down in the description to my website where you could reach me if you'd want a table like this. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next build.